Hey there, going to talk today about the narcissist and their relationship cycle, what that's about, and we're just going to jump right in. Before we start, though, if you've not hit subscribe, please do so. Hit the thumbs up and let's get talking. We're on here all the time, every week, several times a week, talking about all things related to life with a narcissist. So, we're going to start with talking about the narcissists and the cycle of how they behave and how they interact in relationships. Basically, the love bomb, the devaluing, and the discard. And how that cycles all back over again with the hoover, which then begins again the cycle. And the discard, we'll get to the discard, but it doesn't necessarily mean discard. It can be a complete sense of devaluing. So we're going to start with what is love bombing? Love bombing, when you first meet or are involved with a narcissist, is when they are trying to win you over. They are giving you everything that they can to make themselves look. In the beginning, the love bombing is everything that they can to make themselves look a certain way, to or give you what you need, or basically gives you the feeling of all the super exciting beginning of a relationship feelings, but to an extreme. Okay, and to while they are love bombing you, while they're giving you gifts or taking you places or telling you how amazing you are, or being acting like they just can't live a minute without you, right? They're also grooming you. So every relationship in the beginning can have a sense of this, right? Every time you make a new friend, you're dating someone, whatever it is, you can have this feeling of idealization in the beginning. In fact, it's pretty normal for relationships to have some level of idealization in the beginning because you don't know the person and you're getting attention from the person. So of course, there is this feeling of euphoric new relationship feeling. There is a difference with narcissists in that they are doing this in order to well, first they're playing with their own feelings of new relationship. Everyone likes that feeling, right? Unless it makes you uncomfortable because you've had a toxic person. But if they are doing it at the same time they are grooming you, they are presenting a persona to you that they want you to believe that they are, which is what the grooming is. So let's talk a little bit about grooming first. Um, and Darlene, they don't all love bomb and idealize in the same way because we don't all need it. Some of us will fall right in by trying to chase the prickly one. We'll try and like sway the they'll say, okay, sometimes it's in the beginning the grooming comes first, and they don't all love bomb the same way. Some are lazy, some just don't do it. Okay, this is kind of the cycle that goes for, like, in general, the cycle of how many narcissistic people are in relationships. But you'll find that there's calm times and then rocky times, right? It's never even. So if there isn't a person that love bombed you, so to speak, maybe it was just a calmer time, because obviously something attracted you, something made you feel like there was some connection, right? So okay, let's talk about grooming. This is going to be a brief one on grooming, because grooming I could do an hour on just by itself. So okay. All right. So they're gaining your trust. When someone is grooming you, they're gaining your trust. They are mirroring. So go watch a couple days ago's video on mirroring. That's what's happening when a narcissist mirrors. We all mirror in some respect. They will mirror through, because they lack empathy, compassionate empathy, the ability to feel what other people feel and actually care about that, right? They may notice what you feel and understand it, but they don't care unless it affects them. Um, but all of that gives them the ability to see. They do have the capacity to see what it is you're doing, what you need, right? And they'll mirror back to you as if they are the thing you need. So you're basically seeing a mask of the mirror on them. So but that makes you trust them because it looks like familiarity. It looks like understanding. Okay. They gain your trust through grooming. It's seductive when they're grooming. There is a false altruism, a false sense of like, oh, I'm such a good person. Let me give you these things. Look at how I am kind over here, or doing that. So they're presenting an image that they want you to believe is them. That's what grooming's about. They want you to believe that that's the truth. Okay. And so it could be anything, playing victim, acting vulnerable, appearing to have empathy. All of those things can be involved in the grooming process. We, as people with high levels of empathy, and also often having a need, anyone looking for a relationship has a need, right? If your needs aren't shored up where you are self-confident and strong and all of that, they're going to be feeding off of your vulnerabilities and mirroring back to you the perfect example of how I can fill that space and be the thing to take care of that vulnerability. That's what they're doing when they're grooming. And in the love bombing, they may be things. So that's a piece of love bombing. I mean, a piece of the beginning stages cycle of a relationship. But see, they every time. So this can be applied to any stage in the relationship, because every time they shift. So say you catch them cheating and you walk away and they hoover you back. When they hoover you back, they'll groom you back in a different way. So you know who I am now. Do you accept it? You know what I'm saying? Like they'll groom you to fit the mold that they need that relationship to look like. And it happens within the cycle. So I'm talking about the beginning grooming, but it can happen at any time. Okay. Um, Love bombing, gift giving, praise. Often it comes in the form of praise or familiarity in speech. Like, oh, you do that, I do that. Oh, yeah, it's so great. They put you up on a pedestal. There's excessive texting. The relationship moves too fast. It moves very fast. They push boundaries by tempting you when they're love bombing. They don't push boundaries in a negative way. They push boundaries by tempting you away from the thing that is your boundary, right? Um, when they're love bombing, they push boundaries in other ways all the time. But they use phrases like "you're the best this, you're the best that, you're the most." They make you feel like you're the most amazing thing. It's overly familiar, and it will possibly make you feel good. So that is, people often say, "I just want the beginning back." Everybody says that once in a while in a relationship. Oh my gosh, if only it could be like when we were dating. Okay, it's different than that. It's two and it's extreme. It goes from one extreme to the other with the next cycle. So this is all the idealization cycle. So we don't have to call it, when we hear love bombing, we think love and gifts and all of that. It can just be a simple idealization. It can be showing respect. It can be showing make like really pointing out your good traits. Wow, you're an amazing business person. You are so smart in your career. You do, it's building you up in some way, right? Idealizing you, only to then, boom, knock you off into the next cycle, which is the devaluing cycle. So, in order for a narcissist to maintain control in the relationship, they need you to feel built up so that they can then take control of that by devaluing you, by taking away the control. Either that or they get bored. They get bored of holding the mask on that is the one that is actually acting like it cares about you. Because remember, they don't actually feel the need to take care of your emotions, to take care of your needs. What they're doing is all of this love bombing is so that they can gain your attention and gain your praise and gain you thinking they're as amazing as they're saying you are, right? They want to be worshiped. They want to be looked at as perfect. And as soon as the relationship gets real, often, um, there are different times the devaluing can happen. One example is when the relationship gets real and you start seeing things that are real. Every relationship, a healthy relationship, will cycle with the same similar cycle where there's an idealization of each other in the beginning, and it's really hard not to do that. We work really hard not to do that, right? But it happens, okay? And then there's the part of, when you're in a healthy relationship, even a friendship, and then all of a sudden you start seeing their flaws and you start seeing the things that irritate you and the things that are like, and it's not so shiny, the whole relationship anymore. So, okay, that happens just naturally. And that's when a healthy relationship, people get to know each other. That's why you don't rush. That's why you take some months before you move in, right? Or a year or whatever, right? That's why you at least focus on and getting to know each other really well and seeing each other in different situations. Well, with a narcissist, as soon as that happens, or when they are bored, or when they don't get their way, or when they are questioned, or when, boom, they devalue you instead of taking accountability. So the devaluing, they can escape accountability. They can make themselves bigger and better than everyone else. They can inflate themselves and knock by knocking you down. And when this cycle goes on and on and on, they gain control because what do you then seek once you're down? Being put back up. You want to be lifted back up onto that pedestal. You want to be treated well. You want to be seen as the thing that you thought they saw you as, right? You know your worth sometimes in the beginning. It's suddenly diminished. They diminish your worth so that then they become the only thing that can build your worth. What does that give someone? Total control of you emotionally. So, okay, what is the meaning of ghosting somebody? The meaning of ghosting somebody is completely ignoring them, walking away, and just pretending they don't exist. So, um, just had a comment on something. Oh, you didn't raise any red flag. Okay, I'm not following. I'm sorry. I'm like super, super going with this. Um, in the longest relationship we will have is ourselves. Yep. Never let another person dictate what you can and can't do. Love yourself, cherish your time. Exactly. And it's hard when you're around a narcissist because it's hard in any relationship, but it's really hard when it becomes impossible because what happens with this devaluing is there's demands. Let's talk about the devaluing. Pushing away after when you think everything's okay. Pushing you away, building a wall, emotionally withholding, emotionally and physically, whatever, withholding from you. Withholding affection, withholding compliments, withholding talking about the goodness between you, with just withholding, right? They stop listening. They are critical. They are judging. They are hypercritical. They gaslight, right? That's when the gaslighting starts. You say, "Hey, I'm noticing this and this is I'd like to talk about this situation," you say in the beginning, right? When you're trying to be healthy and strong in a relationship and then they say, "What are you talking about? I didn't do that. You did that." Or they start gaslighting you in all the ways we know. I mean, we can go watch a video on gaslighting um, as well because that's days of talking, right? If you've ever had that happen. So, yeah. So this is what they do. Um they this devaluing happens in different areas of your life. So they may devalue you across the board, or they may devalue you in certain areas, but not in others. You see, this cycle is happening over and over and over in different areas at different times. And this is how it gets pervasive into our lives, into our psyche, into every part of our life, because it's not like boom, boom. It's in layers. It's in sometimes they'll just across the board devalue you, and then they'll do like mini discards, which they don't actually leave, but they abandon the relationship. I consider silent treatments to be similar to discards, right? It feels like they have left, vacated the relationship, gone. And they're not coming back to engage. And I'm not talking about a few minutes of needing space. We all might need that. I'm not talking about a little bit of shutting down because they don't know what else to say. I'm talking about silent treatment where they go silent for hours, days at a time. And when they come back, it's either boom, what's the matter? Nothing happened. Why are you upset? Or you earn your way back with them. You grovel, you apologize, you become the one to have to rebuild their fragile ego up in order to then have a conversation, not about what happened, but about your day, or about pretending that what happened didn't happen, or accepting full responsibility for what happened. And then in a sense it's kind of like, it's not a hoover, but it's sort of similar to you accepting more responsibility for the relationship, more of the um just taking on all the yuck, right? in order to maintain this relationship. It's never about them taking accountability or two people discussing or any empathy going your direction for the thing that happened or any apology for the silent treatment. Okay. Um, and yeah, and yes, and there's blame. Yes, they cut you off from all forms during that withholding of the devalue can go as far as complete withholding, including intimacy of all kinds, right? And then the cycle starts again. And it's not like it starts again where you're like, oh, now the love bombing comes. Yay, it's going to be great for a few months. No, no, no. It starts and the love bombing tends to diminish each time, or over time, over a few years or over the course of a few months, it might diminish to where it's just breadcrumbing. And by breadcrumbing, I mean you get little bits of okayness in between, but you've come now. See, because they've devalued you, each time, your self worth, your feelings of safety in the relationship, your feeling like you actually have a partner, all of that diminishes, and you're left just fixing all the time for the both of you. And there's nothing left. Like you're just the breadcrumbs, the little bits of affection become enough. Well, they're not really enough, but they become enough to keep you there, right? And then the cycle is again. And when you're being breadcrumbed, there's still devaluing going on. That's when you start walking on eggshells. I feel like once that devaluing starts, that's it. There is never evening out after that if you're dealing with a narcissist. That's not to say I feel like anyone has the capacity to do any of these things intermittently in a relationship on occasion because work is stressing you out, because you're feeling bad about yourself, because you've been sick, because it's winter and you're depressed. It's not an excuse. Those are things we then have to work on in healthy relationships. With a narcissist, it is a cycle up to them and only them when they're the ones in control of it. Does that make sense? So, yeah, that's partially why it's hard to see and why people are like, well, is it really a narcissist or was it me? Because this is kind of like they take natural human interactions and then it's just amplified, or it's so covert that it's hard to catch. Does that make sense? Okay. And yeah, and the common denominator though here is we are the ones always fixing. We're the ones always um we're researching things when we get to this point where when we start seeing this cycle over and over again, we start researching things like, why am I so anxious? Um, how can I fix my anxiety so it doesn't damage my relationship? What is my attachment style and how is it affecting my relationship? Me. You see what I'm saying? We start looking at ways to fix ourselves so it fixes the relationship. Those are awesome things to do, but you're not going to fix the relationship with a narcissist. What you're going to do is learn about yourself and hopefully move on and build a healthier relationship with someone else, knowing that this is where you go when you become vulnerable to the point of um, broken down, right? And maybe where you maybe are inside yourself and you're trying to fix it through this toxic relationship, which it won't work. So, yeah. Okay. What are we saying here? Okay. I know this is triggering and I understand that. And this is a lot of information that isn't pleasant. So if you need to bow out, understood. Okay. Talking about someone leaving chat here because it's a lot. Okay. Um, so basically there's the cycle in a nutshell. There's the cycle of what happens with narcissists in relationship. Why do they do this? Well, they're in relationships. Why are they in relationships? They're in relationships for the attention. They can't be alone. They need somebody else to maintain their emotional everything, right? They need you for what we call supply, which is all these things I'm pointing out, plus the affection, the somebody that looks up to them, somebody that looks to them like they're amazing, perfect, whatever. But the thing is, we start to see through the mask and then they got to keep devaluing because they got to keep power. That's not to say close your eyes and don't see that through the mask and everything will stay perfect, because that still won't, because then they think they're better than you because you're so stupid you can't see through it. Or, well, yeah, see now, like this, it's like they need to own, they need to possess people, they need to own people, they need to be the ones in control. And that's what they do in relationships. It isn't ever a two-way street. It isn't ever reciprocal and sharing back and forth. And there is never not a power play. There's always a power play. So this keeps it that way. All right. What are we saying here? Any questions you guys have that I missed, please repeat them. Otherwise, I'm going to read back and see if there's anything in chat here. Okay. Okay, Ellen's saying she liked the triangulation video. Good. I'm glad that was helpful for you. Um, okay. What are we asking? Sorry, I'm reading. I'm struggling to read through chat really quick and I'm not getting there. Okay. Hi, Grace. Still really bothers me they get away with thinking we are the stupid ones. You know what? The point is, it doesn't matter what they think because they think so narrowly. They think so selfishly and so, like, everything they think is filtered through their own ego. It's filtered through their own feeling of importance and superiority. So it's sort of like watching a character instead of a human. Does that make sense? It's not, they're not getting away with it. They are forcing the getting away with it, because eventually people see through them. And those that don't, that's only because they're not being hurt by them. And thankfully, they're not hurting everybody all at the same time, right? It's like to say, I want you to see through it would be like saying, I want you to be hurt by it. And we don't want that, right? But at the same time, they're not really getting away with it. Not when it matters. They're just forcing the getting away with it. It's our the best thing you can do, I think, the biggest weapon, so to speak, that we have is indifference. The indifference we show them is the absence of supply, the absence of attention, the absence of focus. And when we can do that with those that have to stay peripherally in our life, or that we're low contact with, or that even ones that, especially when they're out of our lives, it's like an energetic indifference, you know what I mean? Like this indifference to their existence. Who cares? And to me, that is, how did you word it, Grace? That is the lack of getting away with it. Yeah. Let's see. I'm sure some think we're stupid, says Darlene, but I think in general they act like we are stupid, secretly knowing we aren't. Absolutely. I think that's right. I think there's some that are just that type of arrogant where they are smarter than everyone and whatever, but for the most part, many are, they know, they like us for our intelligence, our energy, our empathy, our kindness, our giving, our focus. All the things that they devalue are the things they like about us. Why do they do that? To own it, to own that thing, to say that you're not good enough, do it more. To say you're not enough of this, you better show me that you're enough of this. Gimme. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not because we actually aren't those things. The problem is it destroys our self-esteem, it destroys our sense of self, our ability to value ourselves in the process. So 1 year anniversary, Ellen. Yay. Okay, she left a year ago. Excellent. Um uh what did Belle say? Hey, Belle and Bonnie and Jennifer and Ellen and Darlene and Grace. So I'm bad at chat here. Okay. 100% madness, insanity, and slowly diminishes you to a shell. So you are no longer even who you are or where you stand. You're petrified to anger them and regain control. It's a horrible cycle to live in, isn't it? Yeah. Um, he just sent Valentine's Day flowers to you and her, but mixed up the cards. Oh my gosh. I'm glad it made you laugh. I almost hope that happened on accident and he got caught. Oh my. Okay. Um, yeah. Okay. Okay, you guys, that is the cycle. I could talk about each part of the cycle and probably will go in fact, I probably will. I'm kind of doing a let's talk about the basic stuff this week. So we'll talk about love bombing more in detail and devaluing more in detail later this week. So I'm going to keep this short here and let you guys go. So if you have not hit subscribe, please do so. If you need help with anything, I am available. There's coaching information in the main description of every video, as well as group coaching. Um, this stuff's not easy. So get the help where you need it, wherever that is. Also, there's information on support groups in the main description as well over the QueenBeeing support groups. So I guess that's it, unless there's something going on. Okay, you guys are talking together. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. You take care. Bye bye.